We all know that God has created us uniquely and different. We all have um, our unique personalities. The things that we're passionate about are all individual to us. And just the way that we choose to live our lives are all very unique and very different and very specific to who we are. That's how God created us to be. And honestly, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about creation is just the amount of detail that was put into not only each bird and each species of animal and each flower and every cloud and whatever else, but each one of us, billions of people in the world, and we're all very unique and very specific to God. God's plan for us. And while I've always known that, we're so unique and precious and different, when it comes to love, I really realized that we're all loved very differently once I became a part of a committed relationship, and then especially once I started to have children. So I'm not sure if you are familiar at all with the 5 love languages, but I highly recommend you looking them up. So there are basically 5 different ways that love is spoken. And those 5 love languages are physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, and gifts. Sorry for the little pause there. So with those basics, there are 5 different ways that we can show and receive love. And what comes naturally to us is that we show love in the way that we most crave to receive it. So for instance, I am a quality time person. So I really feel most loved when somebody carves out time in their busy schedule, plans a date, sits and chats with me with a deep conversation, that sort of thing. And that's how I tend to want to show love as well, because we're selfish beings, right? And we want to receive as we're giving. But my husband, he is a physical touch person. So he feels most loved when I'm close to him, touching him, when I'm intimate with him. And honestly, that physical touch is my least way of feeling loved. So we've had some issues in our marriage with both of us not feeling like our cups have been filled because we were trying to fill them in the wrong way. And when I think about my children, I have 4 kids. Each one of them feels loved in a different way. I have my oldest daughter who's very much a quality time person. She's a lot like me. So I find it easy in a sense to love her because we can schedule girls' dates and go off and have long conversations with coffee or hot chocolate for her, that sort of thing. My son is a physical touch kind of guy, and he needs snuggles at the end of every night. And I notice when I rush through bedtime and I don't do those snuggles with him, he starts to feel unloved or disconnected, and we don't want that. And then I have a little princess, Kate, who's 3, and she is most definitely a words of affirmation girl. It is so common for us to hear around our house from her. Mama, you're so special. Emma, you're such a great big sister. Levi, I just love you. And that's how we know that we need to speak to Kate. She also needs to hear, you are so beautiful. You are so special. We love being with you. We love to hear what you have to say. That's how she needs to be spoken to. And then I have a 1-year-old who, let's be honest, with where she's at in life right now, she needs all 5 of the gifts of the different love languages. But my point here is that we need to be intentional about not only loving people, because yes, that's what we're called to do as Christians and as believers. But we also need to be intentional about how we are loving people, especially those that are closest to us, the people that we spend time with, those that we're building relationships with, because they need to be loved in a certain way. I think of that verse that was made super popular by A Walk to Remember, love is patient, love is kind. That's found in 1 Corinthians 13. But that is just a prime example that that love is multifaceted. It's very different. There's many different ways that we love, and that's just so evident in the relationships that we build. And once we think about this relationship feels a little off, maybe it's time to reevaluate how you're loving that person. Are you speaking their language? Are you ensuring that they feel affirmed and that their cup is being filled in the right way? Because you can try all of these ways. I can pack my husband's lunch. I can make sure that I slip a little note on the mirror, whatever. I can speak different. I can show him that I love him in many different ways. But if I'm not hugging him, if I'm not greeting him at the door with a little kiss, if I'm not being intentional about how he feels most loved and how he wants to receive love the most, then all of those other acts of love really are just kind of nice, but really they're kind of useless. So if you have a relationship right now that is feeling a little off, you're feeling like something needs to change, take the time to really evaluate if you're loving them how they want to be loved. If you are married or if you're in a committed relationship and you're not really sure what the best way to speak to that love language is, I highly encourage you to either get the book or to do a little quiz online. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find a 5 love languages quiz to take. And then be intentional about loving that person that way so that their cup can be filled. And this is the kicker. Since we are selfish beings and we're always like, okay, yeah, I can hug my husband, I can do all these things, but what about me? This is what I've learned. The more we fill people's cups with how they feel most loved, it comes back to us. They recognize that we are intentionally making sure that they feel affirmed and loved in a way that speaks to them, so they're more willing to do the same. I notice that when I am hitting all the right buttons with my husband, then he's more likely to take me on a date. And then I feel more loved too. And I want to be clear that a lot of this takes conversation. You need to communicate with one another how you feel loved. For instance, if one of your love languages is gifts, but you're too afraid to say, hey, I would love it if you sent me flowers every once in a while, then maybe they're not going to pick up on that. And I know, so gifts is also one of my love languages, and I've felt really selfish about that. Like, I don't want to be materialistic. I don't want to ask for presents all the time. But the truth is, I feel loved when somebody brings me a coffee, or they think of me when they see something in the store that just speaks to me. And that's okay, because that's how God created you to be. And I get, like, gifts are associated with money, and maybe you don't have that in the budget right now. But let me tell you, a wildflower bouquet picked along the side of the road is just the same as a huge bouquet of a dozen red roses. So don't let the money be an excuse if you have somebody in your life that speaks in that way. I hope you find encouragement in this. Just another reminder to love people how they best receive it.